You are alone. No network, no family money, no mentor whispering secrets in your ear. Just you and the brutal mathematics of survival. Most people tell you connections are everything, that wealth flows through handshakes and bloodlines. They're not lying. But they're not telling you the whole truth either, because there is another path, a colder one. A path built on manipulation, isolation, and the ruthless exploitation of human predictability. This isn't about working harder. This isn't about passion or purpose. This is about engineering wealth from nothing, using the same principles Machiavelli used to engineer power. Zero connections, zero sentiment, zero excuses, 9 laws, all of them uncomfortable, none of them optional. Let me tell you what nobody else will. The people with connections don't want you to know these laws exist. Because once you understand them, you become dangerous. You become competition. You become someone who can't be controlled by the traditional gatekeepers. And that terrifies them. Law 1, invisibility, is currency. The first law is simple. While you are building, you don't exist. Most people broadcast their plans. They share their goals. They announce their intentions to anyone who listens. This is suicide. Every time you speak about what you are building, you lose energy, you lose focus, and worse, you create enemies before you have the strength to fight them. Machiavelli understood this. Power is accumulated in silence. Wealth is the same. When you have no connections, you have no protection. Every person who knows your plans is a potential threat, a potential saboteur, a potential competitor who will copy your model and execute faster. So you disappear, you work in the shadows, you build in private. You let the world think you are ordinary while you are quietly becoming extraordinary. Invisibility isn't weakness. It is strategy. The loudest people in the room are rarely the richest. They're too busy performing to actually build anything that lasts. You are not performing. You are calculating. Think about it like this. Every great predator hunts from concealment. Lions in tall grass, sharks beneath the surface. They don't announce their presence until the moment of strike. You are operating the same way. Your competitors are busy on social media, posting their morning routines, sharing their vision boards, broadcasting their every move. Let them. While they're collecting likes, you are collecting skills. While they're building an audience, you are building an asset. And when you finally emerge, you emerge with something real. Something they can't copy in a weekend. Something that generates actual wealth. Not just attention. The world rewards results, not announcements. Stay invisible until you are inevitable. Law 2, study need, not passion. Passion is a distraction sold to the naive. The market doesn't care what you love. It cares what people need. More specifically, it cares what people fear losing. Fear is the most reliable human motivator. Not hope, not desire. Fear people will pay to avoid pain before they'll pay to gain pleasure. This is psychological fact. So you don't ask yourself what you are passionate about. You ask a different question. What are people desperate to avoid? Poverty, loneliness, irrelevance, weakness, aging, ignorance, humiliation, failure. Find the fear. Then sell the solution. This doesn't require connections. This requires observation, cold, detached, clinical observation of human behavior. You become an anthropologist of desperation. You study what people lie about, what they hide, what they'll sacrifice everything to fix. Then you position yourself as the only logical answer to their problem. Passion is entertainment. Need is economics. Here is what they don't tell you about passionate entrepreneurs. Most of them fail, not because they didn't work hard, but because they built something only they wanted. They created products for an audience of one themselves. You are not making that mistake. You are looking at the market with surgical precision. You are identifying the gaps between what people want and what currently exists. And more importantly, You are identifying what people are already spending money on, because that is proof of need. You are not trying to create demand. You are meeting demand that already exists. This is the difference between gambling and strategy. Passion makes you blind. Need makes you rich. Law 3. Become valuable, not visible. Visibility is overrated. Value is currency. When you have no connections, you can't rely on being liked. You can't charm your way into opportunity. You need leverage. And the fastest leverage is skill that solves expensive problems. Not surface skills, not hobbies, not passions. Deep, technical, irreplaceable competence in something the market will pay for. The competence hierarchy is real. The people who master difficult things control the people who don't. So you choose a skill that has 3 characteristics. First, it is difficult enough that most people quit. Second, it generates measurable financial results for whoever hires you. Third, it can be learned alone without gatekeepers. You don't need permission to become excellent. You need discipline. And when you are excellent at something that makes people money, you don't need connections. They come to you. Machiavelli said it is better to be feared than loved. In economics, it is better to be needed than known. Let me be more specific. You are not learning graphic design. Everyone learns graphic design. You are learning conversion rate optimization, funnel architecture, the psychology of persuasion applied to digital infrastructure. You are not learning to code. You are learning to build automated systems that generate revenue while people sleep. You are not learning marketing. You are learning behavioral economics and how to engineer purchasing decisions. See the difference. One set of skills is common. The other is rare. One makes you replaceable. The other makes you essential. And essential doesn't get negotiated with. Essential sets terms. The moment you become the person who can solve a problem nobody else can solve, your lack of connections becomes irrelevant. Because value transcends networking. Value is objective, measurable, undeniable. You build that, everything else follows. Law 4. Exploit asymmetry. Wealth isn't created by fairness, it is created by asymmetry. You give 1 unit of value. You receive 10 units of payment. This isn't theft. This is leverage. Every wealthy person understands this. They just don't say it out loud because it sounds predatory, but predation is simply efficiency applied to human systems. You find situations where your input creates disproportionate output, where 1 hour of your time produces 100 hours of value for someone else. Then you price accordingly. Most people trade time for money linearly. 1 hour equals 1 payment. This is poverty thinking. You create systems where 1 action generates continuous returns. You build assets that work while you sleep. Code content. Contracts. Contracts. Things that scale without you. The asymmetry isn't in how hard you work. It is in how intelligently you structure the exchange. You are not looking for fair trades. You are looking for exponential ones. And you find them by thinking like a parasite. Not emotionally. Strategically. Where can you attach to a larger system and extract maximum value with minimum resistance? Think about software. You write code once. It sells infinitely. The first sale costs you time. Every sale after that is pure profit. Think about content. You create it once. It generates views, leads, sales for years. The initial effort is high. The marginal cost approaches 0. Think about intellectual property. You develop a framework once. You license it repeatedly. 1 creations, multiple revenue streams. This is how you escape the time for money trap. Most people never escape because they never think in systems. They think in tasks. Tasks are linear. Systems are exponential. You are building systems, and you are structuring them, so the value you create for others far exceeds the effort you expend. That gap, that asymmetry, is where wealth lives, and nobody can take that from you, because it is not dependent on connections. It is dependent on intelligence. Law 5. Weaponize information. Information is the great equalizer. When you have no connections, you have no insider access, no whispered secrets, no closed-door meetings. But you have something else. The Internet, the greatest intelligence network ever created. And most people waste it. They consume entertainment. You consume data. Every industry has patterns. Every market has inefficiencies. Every competitor has weaknesses visible to anyone willing to look. You become obsessed with information asymmetry. You know more about your target market than they know about themselves. You study their language, their fears, their buying triggers, their decision-making patterns. You read what they read. You infiltrate their communities. You analyze their complaints, not to help them, to exploit them. This isn't malicious. This is professional. Doctors don't ask patients what treatment they want. They diagnose, then prescribe. You are doing the same thing, just in a different domain. Information gives you the ability to predict behavior. And prediction is control. You know what they'll buy before they do. You know what they'll believe before they hear it. You know what they'll fear before they feel it. And you position yourself as the inevitable solution. Here is the process nobody teaches. You enter a market as a student. You don't announce yourself. You observe, you join forums, you read reviews. You study competitors. You analyze what people praise and what they complain about. You are looking for patterns, recurring problems, consistent frustrations, unmet needs. Then you go deeper. You look at the language people use when they describe their problems, the exact words, the emotional undertones, the metaphors they choose. This becomes your marketing language. Because when you speak their language, they trust you. They think you understand them, and you do, better than they understand themselves, because you've studied hundreds of them. You've identified the pattern. You've isolated the core psychological driver. They're living it. You are analyzing it. That is the difference between participant and engineer. You are not in the market. You are above it, studying it like a scientist studies a specimen, and that distance gives you power they'll never have. Law 6. Build before you need. Desperation has a smell. People can detect it, and they exploit it. When you need money now, you accept terrible terms. You undervalue yourself. You trade long-term positioning for short-term survival. This is the poverty trap. The solution is uncomfortable. You build your escape while you still have a cage to return to. You keep the job you hate. You endure the boss who disrespects you. You tolerate the mediocrity that suffocates you. But only temporarily. While you are tolerating it, you are building something else. In the hours they're sleeping, in the time they're consuming, you are constructing. This requires emotional control most people don't have. It requires you to smile at people you despise, to perform competence at work you've already mentally abandoned. It is manipulation of yourself and others. But Machiavelli understood that appearance and reality don't have to match. They rarely do. You appear compliant while being quietly subversive. You appear loyal while planning your exit. You appear content while building your revolution. And when you finally leave, you leave from a position of strength, not desperation. You don't ask for opportunity. You present terms. This is the hardest law for most people, because it requires patience, discipline, the ability to delay gratification for months or years. Most people can't do it. They hate their job, so they quit impulsively. They burn bridges. They leave with nothing. Then they're forced to take the next available option, which is usually worse than what they left. You are smarter than that. You understand that power comes from options, and options come from preparation. So you prepare in silence. You build your skill set. You create your product. You establish your system, all while maintaining the appearance of normalcy. Your co-workers think you are just like them. Your boss thinks you are loyal. Your family thinks you are stable. They're all wrong. You are a coiled spring. And when you release with force. But not before you are ready. Not before you have leverage. Not before you can afford to walk away, because walking away from weakness is running. Walking away from strength is strategy. Law 7. Selective association. You can't avoid people entirely, but you can be surgical about who gets access to you. Most people collect friends. You collect assets. Every relationship or depreciating or depreciating, either moving you toward your goal or away from it. There is no neutral. Stagnation is decline. So you evaluate people the way investors evaluate stocks, coldly, numerically, without sentiment. What do they have that you need? Skills, resources, access information. What do they need that you have? And is the exchange profitable? If not, you don't invest time. This sounds sociopathic. It is not. It is honest. Most people use each other and lie about it. They call it friendship. They call it networking. They dress up transaction in emotional language. You are just removing the pretense. You are not cruel. You are clear. And clarity is more respectful than false intimacy. When you have no connections, you can't afford dead weight. Every person in your orbit either accelerates you or drags you. You choose acceleration. Let me give you the framework. You categorize every person you encounter into one of 3 groups. Assets. People who have something you need or can help you progress. You invest time here strategically. Neutrals. People who neither help nor harm. You are polite but distant. Minimal investment. Liabilities. People who drain your energy, time, or resources. You remove them completely. No guilt, no explanation, no drama. You simply stop being available. Most people struggle with this because they've been socialized to prioritize politeness over effectiveness. They keep toxic people around because we have history, or they mean well, or it would be rude to cut them off. This is weakness disguised as virtue. You are not keeping people around because of history. You are making decisions based on trajectory. Where is this relationship taking you, forward or backward? If it is not forward, it is backward. Cut it. Your time is finite. Your energy is finite. Your focus is finite. Every minute you spend on someone who doesn't move you toward your goal is a minute stolen from someone who could make the cut. Feel nothing. Move forward. Law 8. Monetize their status anxiety. Human beings are status-obsessed creatures. This will never change. People will pay obscene amounts to signal superiority, to appear intelligent, to seem successful, to feel chosen. This is your opportunity. You don't sell products, you sell elevation. You position what you offer as a separator, a marker of those who understand versus those who don't. Exclusivity isn't about quality. It is about psychology. People don't want what everyone has. They want what most people can't access. So you create artificial scarcity. You build barriers. You make people qualify for the privilege of paying you. This works because status is relative. Someone is only above if others are below. Your product becomes the dividing line. And you market it not to the masses, but to those desperate to escape the masses. The language is never "this is for everyone." It is "this isn't for everyone." You let them self-select. You let them fight to prove they're worthy. And they'll pay more for the chance to prove it than they'd ever pay for the actual thing you are selling. Machiavelli knew princes aren't loved for generosity. They're respected for selectivity. Same principle, different market. Here is how this works in practice. You don't advertise widely. You don't make your offer easily accessible. You create filters, application processes, qualification criteria, limited availability. You make people work to get access to what you are selling. And counterintuitively, this increases perceived value, because humans are wired to believe that difficult to obtain equals valuable. If it was easy to get, it must not be worth having, so you make it hard to get. Not because it needs to be, but because the difficulty itself becomes part of the value proposition. You are selling access to an exclusive club. The product is secondary. The primary product is the status that comes from being accepted. Look at luxury brands. A handbag costs $50 to manufacture. It sells for $5,000. Why? Because the price itself is the product. The exclusivity is the product. The ability to afford it is the product. The bag is just the physical manifestation of status. You are doing the same thing, just in your domain. You create tiers, levels insider groups. And you make it clear that not everyone gets in. The people who do get in feel superior, and they'll pay for that feeling. Repeatedly. Law 9. Extract, then disappear. The final law is the most important. Nothing lasts forever. No market, no strategy, no opportunity. The moment you strike gold, the vultures arrive, competitors, regulators, imitators, people who want what you built. So you don't stay. You extract maximum value in minimum time. Then you vanish. You are not building a legacy. You are executing a raid. Get in, extract, get out. This is the Machiavellian truth nobody teaches. Sustainability is a trap when you have no moat. When you have no connections, you have no protection. The system will eventually crush you or copy you, so you move faster than they can react. You monetize aggressively, you take profit early. You don't reinvest hoping for infinite growth. You extract, diversify, and disappear into the next opportunity before the current one collapses. This isn't pessimism, it is realism. The game is rigged against outsiders, always has been, always will be. Your advantage is speed and ruthlessness. You are not playing for decades, you are playing for years, maybe months. You hit hard. You leave before they know what happened. And then you do it again, somewhere else. Under a different model, with a different strategy. Think of yourself as a guerrilla fighter, not an empire builder. Empires require infrastructure, supply lines, defense systems, all things you don't have without connections. But guerrilla tactics, those work with nothings. Speed, surprise, strike, disappear. You identify an opportunity. You exploit it ruthlessly. You extract maximum value. You exit before saturation. Then you repeat in a different market. Most entrepreneurs fall in love with their first success. They stay too long. They try to defend it. They watch it slowly die as competitors flood in and margins collapse. You are not doing that. You are emotionally detached from any single vehicle. You care about wealth, not legacy, results, not reputation. So when the opportunity starts to decay, you don't fight to save it. You've already moved on. You are 3 steps ahead. Building the next thing, the next extraction, the next raid. This is how you build wealth without connections. Not through one big win, through multiple calculated extractions across different opportunities. These 9 laws won't make you popular. They won't make you loved. They won't get you invited to the right parties or included in the right circles. But they will make you wealthy if you execute them without emotion, without hesitation, without the delusion that the world owes you fairness. Machiavelli wrote for princes who inherited nothing, who had to claw power from chaos. You are in the same position, just in a different era. No connections means no safety net, but it also means no obligations, no loyalty to systems that were never loyal to you. You are alone. That is not a weakness. That is freedom. Most people spend their lives trying to belong, to fit in, to be accepted by the gatekeepers. They waste decades seeking approval from people who will never give it. You are not playing that game. You are building in isolation, operating in darkness, striking from positions they can't see and can't defend against. And when you emerge as something they didn't expect, something they can't control. Someone known who built wealth without asking permission, without following the rules, without playing the game they rigged in their favor. That makes you dangerous. And that is exactly what you should be. These laws are not theoretical. They're operational. They're designed for people who have nothing and refuse to accept that as permanent. People who understand that the system is designed to keep them poor, and who decide to exploit the system's own mechanisms against it. This isn't motivational. This is instructional. Execute these laws with precision, with coldness, with absolute commitment, and you won't need connections. You'll have something better. You'll have capability, the ability to create wealth from nothing again and again, in any market, under any conditions. That is true power. That is true freedom. Everything else is just networking. Use it